the 4th chapter. About 3/5 of the way through this book, 60%, on embracing all. Here's some stories from the life of Pramukh Swami, often addressed in this book as Swamishri. Let us learn from him. We left off just as our author Yogi was going to narrate 5 different stories with his driver known as Chirag. I don't know if we'll have time to read all 5 of them, but we'll definitely give it our best shot. In 1986, and good night Sandra, Swamishri had been invited to the Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi by President Yani Zail Singh, the 7th President of India and the first Sikh to hold office. They spent close to 25 minutes talking about rural inequities, class, and Varna disparities. Varna means there's a caste system that has existed for a long time in India, where society is divided into 4 castes called the Varnas. Sometimes there's disagreement between the Varnas, and so this is one of the topics of conversation, it seems, and other social issues. At the end of the conversation, Swamishri handed the president a mala, sanctified by Hare Krishna Maharaj, to keep with him as he served the nation. The president broke protocol to walk with the Guru to his car. Swamishri's car drove towards the main gates as the 2 great men bid each other farewell with folded hands. Swamishri then asked the driver to slow down the car. He asked a sadhu sitting next to him to pass a prasad box. Prasad means food that's first offered to the divine. Like after you say grace. Before you say grace, when you eat, it's not yet prasad. But once it's offered, then it's prasad. That'd probably be the equivalent in our culture in the West. He asked the sadhu sitting next to him to pass a prasad box. As his car approached the gates, Swamishri rolled down his window and handed the officer at the gates of the presidential complex a prasad box with folded hands. Atma Svarupta Swami recalls Swamishri approaching the officer at the gates with the same politeness and kindness with which he had bid the president farewell. Though social convention and decorum required a difference in approach between the president and his security team, for Swamishri, the president and the officer attending to the gates were reflections of the same divine. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has acknowledged Pramukh Swami Maharaj as one of his spiritual gurus. When he visited Sarangpur for Swamishri's final darshan before his last rites, the Prime Minister addressed the community and shared intimate details of his father-son-like relationship with the late Guru. "Many of you have lost a Guru today," he said. "I have lost my father." He went on to share several incidents in which Swamishri guided him and even gently scolded him for saying things that could be considered inappropriate or inflammatory. Beyond this guidance, the Prime Minister was impressed by Swamishri's respectful and mindful treatment of him when he had nothing, and his treatment of those who had worked for him when he did have something. One interaction that captured this sentiment occurred between the drivers of his motorcade and Swamishri. After winning his second election to be Chief Minister of Gujarat, Narendra Modi met several community and religious leaders in the region to seek their blessings. Swamishri was one of them. After a meeting at the mandir in Shahibag, Ahmedabad, Brahma Viharidas Swami walked the chief minister back to his motorcade. Just as he was about to enter the car, the chief minister noticed a medium-sized prasad box on the windshield of the car. He then inquired, "The prasad made it down here as well?" Brahma Viharidas Swami smiled and clarified, "Sahib, the prasad has made it to all of the drivers in your motorcade, not just your car. It was an instruction directly from His Holiness." The chief minister was surprised and had to see it for himself. He climbed out of his car and went to check the two other cars. To his astonishment, Swamishri's mindful love and attention had reached those cars and their chauffeurs as well. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has cited this incident as his inspiration to reach out to and interact with people with a sense of equality. Namaste, Nick. Nairobi Mayor Nathan Gahara's chauffeur had a similar experience while driving Swamishri back to the mandir from the city council hall in the Kenyan capital. I actually don't know if it's pronounced Nathan or if it's more Indic like Nathan. Whatever. A beautiful satsang sabha had been organized at the city's seat of government. While everyone in the car was reflecting on the assembly, the Guru turned to the chauffeur and started to speak to him in broken English and later through a translator. "How long have you been driving, the Honorable Mayor? Who else do you live with? How many people in your family? What do your children study? Are you spending enough time with your children? Do you smoke or drink alcohol? Any other substance abuse issues?" The conversation continued for 10 minutes. The chauffeur was moved by Swamishri's interest in him. "What a simple human! I have driven around so many guests, but never before has anyone engaged with me so genuinely. No one has asked about my well-being, though I always ask them if they are comfortable. He is different," he thought. "Swamishri, do you have time? I want to give you a tour of my city." Swamishri had just touched the heart of another person whom he did not know he was going to meet today. These interactions were not staged or planned. They occurred because Swamishri naturally saw everyone. When Gujarat's Minister of Panchayati Raj, which is Rural and Scheduled Affairs, in Mohan Singh Ratwa, could not find his driver after meeting Swamishri, he was told that the Guru had arranged for him to have dinner. The minister was in awe. Though he had been elected to govern matters related to rural and scheduled areas, districts with a major population of underrepresented tribal communities. By the way, such communities the proceeds of this book goes to. In Gujarat, it was Swamishri who regularly noticed and served them. To embrace all is to move beyond differentiation and partiality, to not just engage personally, but universally. Good night, Aquarius lady. I'll make sure to get to your texts as soon as I can. One may argue that these were not ordinary drivers or security officers, as they worked for the President, the Prime Minister of India, or the Mayor of Nairobi. Swamishri was equally mindful of people with no links to politics or wealth. Swamishri once spent an entire afternoon in Vadodara helping solve an inheritance feud. After the meeting ended, Swamishri began his afternoon walking routine. In the middle of the walk, he turned around and asked Dharmacharandas Swami, "Did you arrange for tea and snacks for the drivers who accompanied those two gentlemen?" The attendant sadhu nodded in confirmation. "Did you serve them sweets?" He again nodded to confirm. Were they given one sweet or offered more? He told Swamishri that they were served with the same care and concern as their employers. Swamishri was not satisfied. He was, sorry. Swamishri was satisfied with the answer and resumed his exercise routine. Sorry. Historians and thinkers often state that great men should be judged from the way they treat little people. However, as it pertains to Swamishri, this premise is flawed. He was far beyond their scale of judgment, because for Swamishri, there was no little people. This is why he embraced everyone with equal-mindedness, as noted in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Swamishri followed this initial warmth and kindness by taking on people's problems with a sense of duty and ownership. Their problems were his problems. BAPS and BAPS Charities, which were the organizations he was the president and guru of, have forged the pathway as models for religious charities in Gujarat and beyond. But Swamishri's own effort to help at a personal level was equally noteworthy. Swamishri saw an unfamiliar face standing by the door to his room in Rajkot. It was late at night. Swamishri was returning from a satsang sabha attended by the city's royal family, mayor, and city council members. Swamishri looked past the crowd of sadhus and known faces. He called the unfamiliar man closer to him and asked him for his introduction. The gentleman fell at Swamishri's feet and asked for blessings. "Bappa, I am a weaver from the village of Lakiyani. I work hard to make towels, long cloths, and dhotis, which are traditional garments wrapped up around the waist worn by men, curtains, and drapes. I cannot sell my product, no matter how hard I try. I cannot move the textiles I weave. I am not sure what to do. I worry about feeding and providing for my family. I think your blessings will help me. Will you bless me?" Swamishri silently walked into his room and invited the man to follow. Swamishri was lost in silent thought for a moment, but then formulated a plan. "Not too far from your village, in the town of Limdi, one of my bhaktas, devotees, trades hand-woven cloth. I am going to write you a recommendation letter to him. He will then help you sell your merchandise. Make sure you maintain the quality. He will take care of the rest." The weaver pulled out an unused cloth to be worn as a dhoti. "Papa, look at this. I have brought it for you, unused and unworn. Will you accept my offering? Look at the quality." Swamishri gently took it from the weaver's hand and examined it. It was 30 minutes before midnight, but Swamishri grabbed a pen and wrote a blessing and note of motivation to help settle an unfamiliar man's business and economic struggles. "Here, take this letter to Ramji Bhai in Limdi. He will help you sell your cloth. Do not be disheartened. Work hard and with honesty. God will take care of the rest. Do not be a stranger. Keep me posted on how things turn out." But the man was a stranger who had come to Swamishri only minutes earlier with hopes of no more than receiving his blessings. Instead, Swamishri graced the product of his work, provided insight on how to conduct business, gave him a letter of recommendation, and also put him in touch with the right people. Swamishri was constantly building bridges between those who had and those who could benefit from having more. And we'll pause our reading of In Love at Ease there for now. So, thank you for listening.